a couple of pages on there. So I've got this page right here, and if I go ahead and hover down, create a new page on there, and then create a new page, I'm going to go ahead and make 3 of these. Now, if you're using something like Microsoft Word, you have to go and scroll all the way down to your next page. Okay, has anybody worked on a research paper where that gets really annoying? Okay, so you have to go down 30 pages and then go back up on there. So with this one, if I go ahead and I'm working on a 100-page catalog, I just go and click on whichever page I want to be at, and then I'm located on there. If I wanted to, I can go and even rearrange these pages. I don't want to on this one, but I could. Okay, so that's an advantage on here. Let's go ahead and create a text box. And did we get into, how far did we get into InDesign? Just started messing around with it a little bit. Got into Type on Path, right? Just barely looked at it on here. So with this first one, I want to go ahead and open up the text box. The way that you do it, you go ahead and you go to the letter T on there, you drag out, you've got this box. What the text box is a container for your type. And I could go ahead and write something in there, but I'm really slow at typing. So what I'm going to do is come up to where it has type and then drop this thing down and hit fill with placeholder text on there. It's the second option up from the bottom. So can somebody read that real quick? Go ahead and copy and paste some of that. Put it into Google Translate. Let's see what we have in there. And if it's hard to read, I can hit Control+ a couple of times. Anybody find out what that is? And the most famous type of placeholder text would be lorem ipsum, if you ever run across that. So did Google Translate come up with anything? No? Okay. Sometimes it'll come out with like one word, like, and then another word on there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So with this right here, the placeholder text, this is something that you can't really read. It's just made to go ahead and look like text. The reason why they have this in the program, if you're working on a newspaper article and you're trying to go and meet deadlines and things like that, you have to lay out the newspaper. So you know how many words the story needs to be, and you're waiting for the lead story to come in. You set things up with placeholder text, and then once it comes in, you replace the text on there. That way you can design everything else and not miss any time on the workflow. So with this, let's go ahead and take a look at leading on here. Now, leading affects all the letters on here. Let's go and do just 2 things with this real quick. Come up to the Move tool. Keyboard shortcut for that is V, but because I have a text box, if I go and start typing it, I'll just type V in the text box. Okay, don't do that. If I go ahead and hide some of this, it goes and says that there's more content in there. Okay, and that's what the red plus is. Okay, you don't need to do this. I'll just go and show you real quick because we're going to use this in a different way. But if I were making a news story, I could go and have a picture over here, and then if I click that red box, I can go and have it so that these things are tied together. They're actually tethered. So if I go down here, it goes from one to the other. So I can go and lay out a magazine pretty quick on there. Okay, with this one, let's go and take a look at leading. Go ahead and click in with the T and then do a Control A. Because leading affects all the letters in there. And if I hover over toward the top, it'll tell me what these things are. Hopefully. If it doesn't go ahead and fire off the computer. Let's see. Should be this one. Actually, sorry about that. Okay. You go to 100% on there. Baseline shift, vertical scale, okay, and then if I hover over on here, there should be leading. Okay, it's way over on this side where you have the arrows going up and down. So with the leading, if I go ahead and reduce that, say down to 6 point, visually what has happened to my, is that visually light or heavy? It's heavy on there, okay? So if I go and do this and then come over and then bring it, okay, that's even heavier. We go and do that, it becomes visually light. So go ahead and lead your box either in or out. And let's go and take a look at the next one. Okay, so I've got that. Next one that I want to go and take a look at will be kerning. And for kerning, I'm going to go ahead and make a larger font on there. So I've got kerning. And it's kind of wild using InDesign and having this thing record the whole time because that little drop down menu keeps on coming down. So go between the R and the N. And with kerning, you want to go ahead and click between the two letters that you want to modify. So if we were doing JAWS, the A and W, we'll go and take a look at that one. Do a capital A and a W. Click between those two. If I hover over on here, you see a V and an A that says kerning. If I go ahead and kern it, and go and bring it together. And with the kerning, if we go ahead, this is a typography joke. If I go and go to kerning and then go and kern it down, this is a example of kemming, and kemming's improper kerning. Okay, that's just a typography joke, and there aren't any typographers that have a stand-up routine, so it's not that funny, but so we've got kerning on there. Then the last one would be what? Leading, kerning, and tracking. So I'm going to go ahead and make another text box, write out tracking, make the font a little bit bigger. Okay, so I've got the font a little bigger. Now, because tracking applies to all the letters on there, you need to go ahead and highlight all the letters. So I'm left clicking in the text box and then dragging it out. I could do a Control A. There's a couple different ways of doing this. And then with tracking, because it goes in and spreads all the letters out, where you go and see the arrow that has the go in two different directions on there. If I go and click up on there, it's going to go and track it out. So we've got those on there. Let's go ahead and do a couple more things, and these are like basic things in the program. I want to create another text box. And what are the two main types of fonts that we have? Like the biggest families of the fonts. One that you find in print, one that you find in video. Mm-hmm. So on there, let's go ahead and put Times New Roman. And with Times New Roman, we go ahead and make that bigger. Okay, I want to go ahead and put that font on there. So with the font itself, it starts out with Minion Pro. I'm going to go ahead and if I type in T, it's going to go and get to all the fonts that have the letter T in there. And if you find that you're doing a lot of stuff with the design, you'll start realizing, you know, what the different fonts look like and which one you want to use for your project. An example of that, if I wanted to go ahead and make one of those animated GIFs that are really annoying for memes, does anybody know what font you use? The Impact on there. That's what they use on almost every one of them. So got Times New Roman on here. This is serif. And then what are serifs?
Little bits hanging off the letter.
Okay, so go ahead and hit Control plus a couple of times. Zoom in. And just so that we can remember what those things are, go ahead and hold the box down. It's underneath the pencil. There's an ellipse tool. And find one of those serifs on there and draw out a circle. I'm going to go ahead and move my circle over on here. And for the color of the circle, it uses what's called a stroke. If I double click on the stroke color, which is the box that has the outline on it, I can go ahead and add that. And then if I really wanted to go ahead and make sure that somebody knows what a serif is, if they went and looked at my paper, I can hold Alt down and then left click on the circle, and then I can go drag a couple of these out to a few different serifs on there. And then you choose the color down at the bottom. You see that black outline? And then you can go get the red color. The other one that you can do is you want to make bold, but you use the move tool. Okay, hold the Alt down. When you hold Alt down, go and hover over that object. And it's going to give you like that little tracer down at the bottom. Go ahead and left click it and drag it. Hold it. You have to hold Alt down the whole time. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and hit Control Z. You got it on the. Okay, it's just make sure that you select the little box on there. Look at it. So this one right here is there's two little boxes on there. When you slide it on the board, then if you want to do go ahead and hover over and then hold on. Alt's going to give you that little trace and then left click it and grab it. And then you can go and do that as many times as you want. So if you go ahead and figure out that keyboard shortcut, you jump into Photoshop to do exactly the same thing with moving and duplicating. And how's it look today? So with this and with Adobe, yeah, cover over that and then left click it and grab this. That's it. Okay, and then just draw out a circle down. And then you can go ahead and grab that circle and then move it. Grab right on the half of the circle. So you grab like right for you hover again. Grab it and move it. Pretty edge of it. Like with the circle part, just get on that edge. And then you just have to And if you want to change the color of it, you can click on the black outline. And then okay. And then yeah. Okay, we got tons of circles.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. On there.
So
Yes.
I clicked here
Uh-huh.
and
Okay. If you ever get screwed up in InDesign, Control Z a bunch of times, go ahead and undo it. And then for Photoshop, the multiple undo is Control Alt Z. Which if you don't know that, you just hit Control Z to toggle back and forth. So just going to draw that up. Draw one small circle. Okay. And then if you use the move tool, or you just go and grab it, So after you draw one, you hit OK. And then go and use the move tool. Just move it, and then grab it. Okay. So with this, okay, so far this is like a word processor. Let's go ahead and do just a couple more fonts on there, and then we'll take it up a little bit more. So with the next one, okay, since we've got serif, what's the next type of font? Okay, so sans serif. Does anybody have a favorite sans serif font? Okay, I've got one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Arial in black. I'm going to go ahead and do Arial black and then just make this one big. And while I'm doing this, did anybody see Papyrus? Okay, I have one person that's going across that one. We'll talk about Papyrus in a second. Okay, on here, I don't want to go ahead and spend a lot of time typing this over again. So if I go ahead and hold Alt and I'm using the Move tool, it's going to go and give me that secondary, and I'm just going to drag it down. Old English is its own kind of font, but there's also decorative fonts. So decorative. And this would be, Ironwood would be a decorative font, Joker Man. And if I wanted Joker Man, just type in Joker Man. Has anybody ran into this in Santa Fe? Probably Albuquerque too, the Joker Man font outside of business.
You just gotta keep doing a lot, what you're saying.
Well, yeah. Probably the only person that drives around and notices fonts, but for a while that was the Santa Fe font look on a lot of businesses. So you've got Joker Man. Then script fonts, those are their own kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and put script. And for this one, I'm going to highlight it and then use Edwardian. Okay, so I've got Edwardian script. Now I'm not going to type Edwardian on here just because I'm really slow at typing. So I'm just going to highlight the name and then hit copy. And then hit paste on there. And then let's see. For Harley and Haley and let's see, Corey. Which one of those fonts are the easiest to read out of these four that we just typed up there for people that are in the back? Which one's hard to read? Script, okay. So if you're making a TV commercial, this is really not what you want to be doing, okay? Script fonts. This one is probably the next one. This right here, the Arial Black, that one is a sans serif. That one works really well for video. Imagine having this one, Edwardian script, up on a billboard and you're driving into Farmington. Are you going to go and really see that? There are some exceptions. If this is really what your business is, you just have to make it really big on there. But chances are it's going to go and get lost. Okay, take a second. go ahead and visit with the person next to you. See if they've got all these things. If they don't, let's see what we can do to get them on the same page. And then because these programs do crash, you want to go ahead and save this and do a save as. Put your name on there, and this one will be Typography 1. It's 4 credit. It's going to be really ugly, but go ahead and have a foundation. So I'll wait just a second longer because it looks like everybody's almost there, and then we'll start taking a look at a couple of other things that you can do with the program, which will help you with the typography poster. Did everybody find a quote? Okay. Have you sketched it out? So you want to go ahead and find a quote, sketch it out. That way, if we have any time, I'm not sure if we'll have time today, but that way you can hit the ground running, working on this. Go ahead and use the pen tool. If I go ahead and select the pen tool, it's underneath the T. If you don't see this view, what I'm doing is I'm using this right here. I've gone ahead and clicked the triangles up there. In Adobe, if I go and take a look at any of the tool sets and they have a triangle down at the bottom, that means if I left click, there's hidden tools in there that I can go and access. With the pen tool, if I go ahead and click, left click, it's going to go and create a dot. Okay, that's going to go ahead and create straight lines. If I go ahead and click a dot and then I left click and hold the mouse down and drag, I can create a handle. The handle will go ahead and create a curve on here. If I went in and lost where I'm at, if I go ahead and use any of the tools with the exception of the type tool and hit spacebar, it will allow me to go ahead and move around on the canvas on there, which is really useful if you're working in Photoshop. Control plus will go ahead and zoom you in. Spacebar goes and becomes a hand. Control 0 zooms you out so that everything fits on the screen. Control minus makes it even smaller. So with this path right here, I can put type on it. I've got the pen tool, it's right underneath the letter T. If I hold on this one, it's got a triangle down at the bottom, meaning that I can go and add type to that path. This is T that's fallen off a hillside. If I hover over a path, it will go ahead and say, do you want to put text on there? It gives a plus sign. I click on it, and then I can go and put type on path. It will go ahead and write on there. So you can type something out. And what the path actually is, this is a vector that's created in the vector world. It's made out of points and coordinates. If I take a look at the ellipse shape on here, that's actually a path. So I can go ahead and drag out a circle, then come up to the type on path, and then put text on there. And with this, let's see. So see if you can go ahead and put text around on there. If I wanted to go and move the text that's on this path, okay, if I hover over to the initial point where I've got the type, and this may help you, Asher, on here. If I go ahead and hover over this one, it gives an arrow. This allows you to go ahead and change where that starts, or if you lose some of the text on there. The other thing that you can do is, let's see, transform horizontal. Let's go do this. Okay, to go and get into the settings on there, if you go ahead and click on where the type on path is, like that, it goes and says the effect. You want to do rainbow, gravity, stair step. You start getting into like all sorts of options on there. And then if it's on rainbow, you can go ahead and do top, bottom, and then you can go ahead and flip it. So that would be upside down. That might be where you got into it somehow.
No, the actual text is backwards, so like you, I mean, you just put the root out of the key, but
Any
mirror.
mirrored on there? It could be like a flip transform on there. I'd have to go and see it. I don't usually get into that one, but on a lot of the options in this program in Illustrator, if you double click on the icon, it'll give you another dialog box on there. So, okay, let's go and take a look at a few more things on here. And I'll go and visit with people, make sure everybody's on the same page. Go ahead and grab the ellipse tool and then just draw out a circle, okay? With that circle, when you draw it out, it automatically assumes that you want to go and have an outline on it because it doesn't give you any color. That's what's called a stroke. If I wanted to go and make that stroke bigger, it's up toward the top. If I wanted to go and make it smaller, or if I wanted to make it disappear, put 0 points on there, it's totally gone. With the fill color, same thing with the fill color. If I go ahead and click, I can add in a fill color. I can go and click, add in a stroke color. So draw something out, put some color on there. And once you've done that, right next to the move tool, there's the direct selection. So with the move tool, I click on here and I can go and move this around. The direct selection tool, if I click on it, I can grab those anchor points. If I click on an anchor point, I can start manipulating the shape itself by accessing the handles. And with the pen tool, this concept of going ahead and grabbing handles and drawing, it's completely alien to everybody in here. You did not grow up going to elementary school and have the instructor go and say, here's a metal ruler, okay, make a circle. They never did that, okay? But this is how it works with the anchor points. If you imagine that you have a metal ruler and then you put tension on here, it goes and creates a circle on there. If you go and break the tension, then it goes back to like a straight edge. That's how the vector art works. And in order to break the tension underneath the pen tool, there's the convert to direction point. Looks like a greater than less than sign. If I click on it, it's going to go and destroy the tension on there and then give me solid lines on here. So if I go ahead and click on those, then I end up with a box shape. If I go ahead and click on here, and I'm left clicking when I'm doing these, and then drag out the handles, I can go ahead and run into like a circular shape. Have you messed around with the tool? Every now and then I have people that are fancy. Not usually. So go ahead and select first. Okay, select the image of the shape. Okay. And then I'll go to the lateral box. Right here. And you go to the color. Got the color. And I go ahead and manipulate that. Then use the direct selection tool. Now I go and get the feature called view. And click on the edge of the object. And you'll see the anchor points highlight. Click on these little dots. And go ahead and control plus. So you can zoom in. And then click on the dots. And then drag it. And then drag it. You see how those handles are wide? Right. Yeah, I can go and drag it. Drag the center. Yep, right. Yeah. There you go. Which is really weird if you've never worked with vector stuff before. It doesn't work like they're testing you. See, usually what happens, people go and jump into Photoshop, which works like it does in the real world. If you want to go and paint something, like right here, this is how Photoshop works. With Illustrator and creating like vector art in InDesign, it's using tension and handles on there. It's a little bit different. So go ahead and do like one more thing. How's everybody doing? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Okay, because I know I've got a couple of people that have worked with Illustrator. So what I need you to do between now and next time, go and sketch out a couple of ideas on the quote if you haven't. Make sure that you have that, because I'll go ahead and give you some time to work in class. I'll go ahead and have the poster due sometime next week, okay? But I would go ahead and start working on it, and you won't be able to complete this one in class on there. But if you've got a really good idea, you can go ahead and like knock it out. Reason why I would do two different sketches, making one sketch is really easy, okay? Coming up with like 2 or 3 different designs on there, you have to force yourself to come up with like different ideas, and then maybe you find something that you like even more than when you just stopped at it. And then if I'm working with a client and I go ahead and show the client one sketch, what do you think? How's that conversation go? Well, here's your logo, okay? If I'm paying somebody to go ahead and make a logo for me, do I just want to go and see one sketch? Yeah, I made the, okay. I want to go and see like maybe 6 different sketches of what this logo is going to look like, because then I can go ahead and choose. People like to have choice on there rather than somebody just, there's your logo, okay? So you go ahead and you pick and choose, or you go ahead and be part of the conversation on this one. So where we're going next time, just a quick sneak peek on here. And then we'll end with Papyrus, because no one in here has watched that one. So what I'm going to do with this one, okay, so we've got the type on here. What we'll end up doing is taking type, because type is actually a vector shape on there. So what you can do with it is that you can go and break it down into the outlines that go ahead and create the shape. It's no longer text. And then release compound path. Then I can go and grab the letters and then individually move them. I can go and get rid of the color that's inside the text on here. So let me go ahead and grab that and make that into an alpha on there. So this would be an alpha channel. Open that up. And then if I wanted to, we could go and do type on path on here, so that we go ahead and put it on there. Or we could go and use like the regular text tool and then use this and then fill this as a container with type. And then go and create some things on there. Or we could go and just fill it with color and then manipulate the anchor points. We're not there yet, but this is where we're going. So make sure you hit Control S, and then we'll finish up.